Alrighty, good morning, Middle Georgia, as it is now Thursday morning. It's about 12:18 as I'm starting this stream. We just finished with our 11 o'clock show, so we had to go on late because of the NBA draft, so apologies there, but we are still out tracking multiple severe thunderstorm warnings making their way across the mid-state. We did have a few down here over where all of this lightning is going on right now, but it looks like at the moment that severe thunderstorm has since expired. But if you even go outside, some places it's going to be a complete light show out there. I was just outside just a little bit ago before our 11 o'clock started, and the sky was lighting up. It was so bright out there, and there's so many lightning flashes. It's so hot outside, so it's just one of those nights here in Middle Georgia. But we are going to be tracking these as they make their way through the mid-state. And I've got our Facebook going, I've got our YouTube going, and it is just me tonight, so I'm going to do my best to make sure I answer everybody's questions as we head throughout the remainder of tonight. And I also am going to have to be doing or pushing some notifications as well. So if there is any downtime, it's most likely because I'm doing that as well. But I'm going to do my best to make sure everything works out accordingly. But it has been a rather active night here for a lot of us, so it's been an interesting night here, especially since it took a little bit of time for these storms to get going and everything like that. But currently just putting out this quick push notification, and then we will go to tracking the actual storms themselves. But hope everyone is staying safe out there. Okay, all right, cool. So got that pushed. And yeah, so we're going to be watching these warnings that are making their way through the mid-state right now. And I'm actually going to try to take this lightning layer off because there's just so much lightning going on. It's almost obscuring the field of view of what we're trying to look at itself. So I'm going to see if we can turn that off just for now, just so we can get a better picture of what exactly we're seeing in terms of those warnings. Let's see. Okay, there we go. I'll turn that lightning effect back on here in just a minute, but it was very obscuring in terms of these warnings. So I just want to make sure we have a good look at these just so we can tell where exactly these storms are heading to at the moment. So here, let's go back to this, and then we will start diving in here. All right. So we've got quite a few warnings over here. Again, we had multiple that were stretching across the mid-state. We had some that were over here down in Macon and Taylor County. We had one up in Butts County. We had some over in Sumter County before. So we've had quite the few warnings, and we still have quite the active radar going on in the eastern portions of the mid-state. And that's where we're expecting the bulk of this severe weather to happen for tonight. The biggest risks with any of these storms is going to be that damaging wind. Hail threat has been increasing. We've even had a couple reports from you guys actually saying that we've seen some hail out there a little bit earlier. We're also going to be talking with the National Weather Service, and I'm going to be checking in with them just to see if they have any reports as well that I can share with you guys. And yeah, and of course, on any severe weather event day, you can never completely rule out a tornado, but it's very low in terms of our risks that we're going to be dealing with tonight. But still watching all of these warnings making their way through the mid-state. So we'll just go from left to right. So this is the first one that we're going to be watching right here. This is making its way through Wilkinson into Twiggs County. So it started just to the west of McIntyre, going into the north of Jeffersonville. It's just going through Merrick's Mill as well. Got that heavy rain mixed in right there with that deeper red color. It looks like it had a little bit of that pink core going on just before. So that means that we could have seen some hail in there as well, just on that county line in between these two counties. Now it's making its way over towards the southern portions of Bibb County into Houston County. Then as we make our way a little bit more to the east, we have another warning that's going to be all the way from up here in Balls Ferry State Park, all the way down towards Danville and Montrose, just along I-16. So again, still going to have that heavier rain mixed in here, and it looks like just to the north of Tucker's Crossroads, we're going to have that pink core that I was mentioning that can be indicative of seeing potentially some hail, and that is certainly a risk that is possible as we head throughout tonight, as there is a lot of fuel here in the atmosphere. You can feel it as we walk outside. It's so humid, it's so hot, and that allows for a lot of fuel, and a lot of fuel can allow for strong updrafts, which then can allow for some hail. So it's definitely a possibility as we head throughout tonight, and it looks like if you're in Tucker's Crossroad right now, you're still experiencing a whole lot of rain, but you could be seeing some hail as well. So make sure to be staying safe, being in your safe place, which is going to be the lowest part of wherever you live, away from any windows, to be as safe as possible, because we're also, again, have the threat of those damaging winds. And even if you happen to not be within a severe thunderstorm warning, some of these storms can still have pretty strong winds. So we just want to make sure we're staying safe tonight all across the board, all throughout middle Georgia. As we make our way down this morning, it's going to be making its way down along, let's see which highway that is real quick. Looks like it is going to be Georgia Highway 29. So it looks like that leading edge is following that highway at the moment. And it's going to be seeing that a whole lot of that red is going to be along that. It's also going to be along Georgia Highway 86, just to the east of East Lawrence High School, making its way over, let's see, that name is a little bit overlapped here. It's going to be just making its way through the Adrian Camp Conference Center. So again, still seeing a lot of that heavier rain just along Georgia Highway 15 in the intersection with US Route 80. So still experiencing some heavy rain there, and again, a lot of that damaging wind, especially along this leading edge that's now going to be making its way just to the north of Trutland County High School, just below I-16, heading up towards Oriana and Caitlin. So if you're in any of those areas or near them, you probably start to experience heavier rain and even some very gusty winds as well. As we make our way a little bit down following I-16, going to see as we had just made its way through Lombard and Nunez, starting to see that heavier rain now starting to lighten up just a little bit as we go to that green color, a little bit of that yellow, but as you head over towards Oak Park and even down towards Normantown, starting to see a little bit of that heavier rain as well. So if you happen to live in any of those areas, make sure you guys are staying safe as well. All right, and as we head down to the last warning, it's going to be including Montgomery County and just a little bit of Wheeler County as well. It doesn't look like it's gotten quite into that county quite yet. But you're going to notice it's just going to be making, like we just talked about, just to the west of Oak Park, making its way into the northeastern portions of Montgomery County. So we'll need to be watching these very closely to see if any of these warnings happen to be extended. And across the board, the southern half of the midstate is seeing a whole lot of activity. And we'll turn the lightning layer back on, but even just in terms of rain, you're seeing a whole lot of it all over the southern and the western portions of the midstate. So anywhere in Warner Robins, Roberta, Butler, all the way from Perry, all the way down through Americus, you've seen a whole lot of rain within the last hour and a whole lot of lightning. We did have that severe thunderstorm warning in northern Butts, and it looks like we have a few storms that are starting to form as well in Monroe County and even into Lamar County as well, right along I-75, and we have those warnings up near the metro Atlanta area, so we'll need to be watching those closely as well, especially as these storms down here start to develop, especially with that heavier rain mixed in. And let's turn that lightning layer right back on just to see potentially how intense some of these storms up here could be, to see if that's something that we need to be tracking as well. But across the board, it's been a very active night here, especially within the last 2 hours. Again, based on what the models were showing a little bit earlier, this seems to be a little bit later than those models had seen, but it's here now, and we're going to be tracking it for as long as it makes itself known. Let's see. All right. There we go. That's the layer that I wanted. So let's just save that really quickly, and we will check some other stuff out. All right, there we go. All right, let's head back to this, and we'll go back up to the northern portions and check what is going on there. All righty, let's zoom in here. All right, so again, we did have that severe thunderstorm warning for the northern portions of Butts County, and it looks like we're seeing a little bit of lightning with some of these newer showers forming. So we're starting to see a few storms out there making their way through the northern portions of Monroe, maybe into Lamar as well. So if you happen to be in Barnesville, get ready. It looks like you could be having some showers and storms making their way here in the next 10 to 15 minutes, especially if you happen to live in Forsyth. You're starting to see a few showers form just around the perimeter of Forsyth, so you'll probably see some rain there as well. But in terms of some of the other counties here in Middle Georgia, like up towards Jasper, Putnam, even here into Jones County, really haven't seen a whole lot of activity within the last couple of hours. I believe we did have a storm make its way through Baldwin into Jones about a couple of hours ago, maybe a little bit more south than that. But in terms of the last hour with all of this activity, these 3 counties up here really haven't seen a whole lot. So we'll also need to be watching that to see, because up here in the northeastern portions of the Middle State is where we saw the bigger of the 2 risks, where it was a level 3 and not a level 2. But right now, I'm still just watching the activity, especially with these severe thunderstorm warnings making their way through the eastern portions of the mid-state. All right, we have Alicia saying it's getting pretty bad on mostly in Peach County, so thank you for that. We have Leah saying northwest Lawrence County, there's very heavy lightning. That is very, very true. It is much like a light show, and I'm actually, here in a second, we're gonna go take a look at some of our sky cams and see if we can catch some good lightning. Because I even walked out myself and saw a lot of lightning. Let's see. Yeah, Alicia, I would agree. This lightning is pretty crazy. All right, and then Chris saying there's some decent thunder every so often. Yeah, that's true, especially with all this lightning mixed in, I believe it. So what I'm gonna do is it's just gonna take me a second to go to our cameras and get them in the right position so we can kind of take a look at what's going on. I think first, I'm gonna wanna look at our Dublin camera because we've just got 2 giant blobs of all of this lightning, so we can take a look at that as well. It looks like it's raining in Dublin as well, so might make it a little bit harder to see on the camera, but we'll give it a go as well, at least in the moment while we're in between these warnings being issued. But so far, making it into the first hour of Thursday morning. And still watching those warnings as they make their way through Middle Georgia. All right, let me just reposition this real quick. All right, should be good. Let's see, let's go find, where is it? It's this one, okay. Just gotta get it loaded. Sorry, it took me a second to get the camera oriented. It's gonna be a little hard to see because it is raining pretty heavily in Dublin as well at the moment. But this is looking off towards the east, and you can even see our camera is shaking as well. Getting a couple flashes of that lightning. Doesn't look to be nearly as frequent as maybe some other places have seen it before, but definitely is still very active, especially in Lawrence County, where you have a warning in effect for the northern half of that county as well, especially making its way through Dublin. Again, biggest risks tonight are going to be that damaging wind. Still also have the chance for some isolated hail mixed in there, but definitely the winds are the biggest concern. You can tell it's getting pretty windy there. That camera is shaking pretty well. And while that is going, I'm actually gonna take a look at one of our other cameras because we've got 2 here in Macon Bib. So I wanna see if we can see anything good from these cameras as well. Because even myself, I was seeing some pretty crazy lightning before that 11 o'clock show. So let's see, just rotating our camera here in Macon, and this might be a better view to look at considering there's not a whole lot of rain going on here in downtown Macon. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch it so we can get a little bit better view, maybe a little bit more of that lightning can be a little clearer when it comes through on camera. Just gonna take a second for this to load. And this is looking off to our southwest from our station here in downtown Macon. So I'll probably stand on this side. It might be a little bit of a better view, but you can see very active. It's almost without a second. That was a good flash right there. But almost every single second, there's some sort of a flash of lightning. And again, it's very hot and humid outside. And because we have all of this fuel, it's allowing for those very strong updrafts which can help start to promote a lot more lightning. And no, that doesn't mean it's heat lightning, because heat lightning is technically not a thing. It's still regular old lightning, but it's allowing for those charges within the clouds to separate and start to connect a whole lot more with all of that heat. It's helping to just invigorate that process all the much more, so that's we're seeing a whole lot more lightning. But it is very flashy out there, very bright. So it is a cool sight, but we still want to be safe tonight, especially with those warnings making their way through the mid-state. So we'll check back in with those here in a minute. But for now, we'll go back to tracking and making sure we are keeping up with our current storms. And it looks like we might have gotten a new warning down in Wheeler County. So let's see, let's go over to our radar. Alrighty, there we go. So we do have a pretty big one that's been extended from that mainland that we were talking about. Looks like it is going to be making its way through Houston County all the way down even into Wheeler County. So it's going to be making a big swath right across the southeastern portions of the mid-state. So that one was just issued. Let's see. It says it's going to be until 1:30 a.m. So for the next hour. And again, these storms tonight aren't moving nearly as fast as we typically see with other systems, and that's because, especially back in March and April when we were having a lot more of those severe weather threats, that was typically associated with a cold front that was helping to push those storms along. So they were moving at a much quicker pace than the ones that we're seeing tonight. So I will actually check the speed of this warning right here in a second, but one of the ones we saw earlier in the evening, it was only moving at 10 miles an hour. And for context, the storms we saw just a couple of months ago moving at about 50 to 60 miles an hour. So it's a pretty good cutback from what we're used to seeing, and that's why we do have that chance for some isolated flash flooding as well, just because these storms are moving a little bit slower and can dump a whole lot more rain over a larger amount of time because they're just not moving so much. And especially when it comes to flash flood warnings, you want to make sure the biggest rule that you follow is turn around, don't drown, especially because it's the middle of the night. It's going to be nearly impossible to see. Even with all that lightning probably lighting up the road, you don't know what's going to be under that water because roads can be washed away. We don't know how deep that water is. And even just a foot of water can wash away most cars. So it's just better to be safe and just stay home tonight and do everything you can to stay home if at all possible. But again, I'm just sending out one of our push notifications since we did just get this updated warning. But overall, I hope everyone is staying safe tonight because it is going to be a rather active night, especially for the next hour or so. And again, this warning that was just issued for a whole lot of counties is going to be until 1:30 a.m. So for the next hour, that will be in effect. All right, I've got that going right there. All right, Angela, I see you're asking about Irvington. So here, let's go over here. Let's see here, Irvington. So for you here in Irvington, you had some rain and some storms make their way, and it looks like it kind of just went above and just to the south as well with the heaviest of that rain, but you're still seeing a little bit of that rain left over. It looks like, if we zoom out here, that main line that's going to be right down through here with all this lightning is now making it just to your south and just to your west as well. So at the moment, it looks like you guys are okay and are just going to be left with some remnant rain, at least for the next hour or so, especially since these are moving a little bit slower as well. All right, an Angel saying that there's some crazy wind and lightning and rain in Butts County, and agreed. I don't know if I've ever seen this much lightning before, but it certainly is very interesting. A little cool, but you still want to make sure you're being safe because it is still lightning after all, and lightning is very, very dangerous. All right, and I'm also going to do a quick check-in with our friends over at the National Weather Service, just in case they're having any damage reports that would be good to help relay. All right, don't see anything right now, so we'll just head back to the radar and just keep on tracking things. All right, oh, and I was going to check the speed of this most recent warning. So here, let's do that real quick so then we can kind of give a general idea of where we could see this end up, at least for the next hour or so. All right, let's see. All right, this one is moving at 30 miles an hour, so a little bit faster than the one that we were seeing a little bit earlier. So here, just got to adjust that real quick on my end. And then I'm going to want to zoom this out so I can get a better picture of exactly where that leading edge is. So we'll get it right along there. We'll bump it out about an hour. Alrighty, so for that big warning that was just issued for a whole lot of counties, it's going to last until about 1:30. We're pushing this out just about an hour for where we could see this leading edge make its way through. And with that leading edge, that's where you're going to see the biggest amount of those damaging winds. So you want to be careful, especially if you happen to be within the path of any of these areas. So within the next 10 minutes, we could see it getting close to Veteran High School in the Houston Lake Community College as we head closer to right around 1 a.m. Could see that leading edge get to right around the Middle Georgia State University Cochran location and right around the Eastman Dodge County Airport. As we head to about 10 minutes after that, it looks like it could get to right around the Pulaski County Correctional Facility. Then as we head towards right around 1:20, maybe heading near the Lawrence L. Bennett Horse Training Facility, and then also maybe the Dooley State Prison, and then all the way towards about 1:30, maybe honing in on Wallace, Workmore, Ryan, and at that point, maybe even Abbeville as well. So that's going to be the newest warning that was just issued for a whole lot of counties here in the southeastern portion of the mid-state. That's going to be the biggest threat that we're seeing at the moment across the entirety of the mid-state. So these are the active warnings that we're seeing. We're still seeing a lot of activity over here in the western portions of the mid-state. Still a whole lot of lightning going on, and even up into Butts, like some of our viewers were mentioning. A lot of lightning in winds are happening too, especially along I-75 here in Monroe. So we'll actually check back in with that as well, since it looks like that activity has since picked up. So again, we're going to see making its way just to the western portions of Butts County. So looks like we just went through Jackson, making its way towards the High Falls State Park. So if you live anywhere near there, you're going to see a lot of that heavier rain with this red color, a lot of lightning, and especially as we head towards Forsyth. Now you're really starting to feel it. A little bit ago, oh, and there we go. As we mentioned it, they just threw out a warning on it. So that was going to see a lot of activity starting to pick up, especially over the last 30 minutes, and seeing these start to form and really come together. So that's the main risk that we want to be watching out for tonight, especially over the next hour or two as these storms make their way on through. But again, this new severe thunderstorm warning is going to be for the western portion of Butts County, pretty much everybody in Lamar County, the western portion of Monroe County, and just the northwestern tip of Upson County. So that's the newest severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued, and it's going to be until 1:15 a.m. But I do appreciate everybody letting me know what they're seeing, because it definitely is helpful, especially when sometimes you get a little honed in. You make sure you go around and check in on everybody, not just the places that are having those warnings. Because again, just because you're not in a warning doesn't mean you're not seeing anything significant. And again, I apologize for being on my phone, just making sure I get out our push notifications as well to let everybody know, just in case they happen to not be watching the stream as well. All right, and this one looks to only be moving at 10 miles an hour. So this is kind of what I was saying a little bit earlier, where this is a lot slower moving. Again, what we saw just a couple of months ago was moving at around 50 to 60 miles an hour, and that was associated with a cold front. But since we don't have lightning here at the station, so I am gonna go check on something real quick, and I will be right back. But again, I'm meteorologist Noah Hauck, and we are still tracking severe weather coverage as we head throughout this morning. Alrighty, everyone. We are just troubleshooting some technical difficulties right now. I don't exactly have a time frame as to when we will be back, but we are working on it to try and get that live stream back up and running. But for the meantime, we are going to come off the live stream while we deal with those technical issues. And of course, since we still do have active severe weather out there right now, please make sure that you have, or you're either paying attention to our website on our weather page, or you do have our Skywatch weather app, because I'll still be trying to push those notifications in the meantime. But of course, everyone stay safe out there this morning. I know this is an overnight event, but I hope everyone is staying safe, and we will be back as soon as we can.